Welcome to Drum and Drummer, a podcast focused on drums, drumming and drummers. I'm George Pickering and that's Ben Winty, and we are both professional drummers in this business we call music. So stick around and join us as we pass the time whilst trying to stay in time.
And someone's gone, we need to test these bad boys. Turkeys, let's go. Welcome to Drum and Drummer.
Welcome. How are you?
George. Yeah, salut, mon friend.
Good. What is that, French?
Combination of multiple languages, baby. Yeah, we are one world. All right?
Yeah.
You
Sick
good?
of saying it.
Yes.
Yeah, good. Very good.
The orange hat's back, I
I'm
see.
in my room again. The what's back?
The orange hat.
Yeah, orange hat's back. I was thinking about this. I don't know whether to see if I can get a heater in this room because it's cold. And what are we, mid-nov? Not even mid-nov.
Mid-nov, mate.
And it's
mid-nov.
And it's only going to get colder.
Have you put the heating on at home yet?
A few times. Oh, did I tell you about this? Let me tell you about this. We have got a guest today, but I'll tell you this quick heating scenario. So we got our bill the other day, £1,200 for the month.
Interesting. That's a lot of money.
That is a lot of money.
What
isn't
you eating? Brighton?
Well, this is it.
Brighton Dome? Yeah. Is that where you live?
You live in the dome.
What's gone on there then? Because that's mental money.
That is mental money, isn't it? For a month. Or maybe it was for the quarter. Either way. A lot of money. Yeah. And Elfie sent me the picture of the bill. And I just went, well, we're not paying that. We'll call them. But we remembered we have a friend who works for Octopus Energy. And it was like 9 p.m. Saturday night. And we texted him, hey, mate, this bill's a bit high. And he'd already said, if any bill looks a bit too mad, let me know, because sometimes they estimate for you and it's way too much. And 2 minutes later, he was like, oh, I'll go on my laptop now. And he sorted it and got that bill right down. So the point being,
in the middle of a bar, he's in the middle of a night out, Saturday night, party, and he's like, whoa, DJ, stop the music.
Yeah.
Somebody needs me.
Yeah.
And he just opens the laptop like Mark and Peep Show. And he's like, sort that bill out, bring it down, off we go. DJ, play the tune, put the tune back on. Well, that's very good, isn't it? It's all about who you know. It's all about who you know in this world, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is.
So
what was the problem with the bill? What's the beef?
What do you mean, what was the problem? Why was it so high?
Yeah, what was the...
Well, they just estimate for you, but estimate too high. And we were like, there's no way. I think we put the heating on like twice. We're like, it can't be that high. Yeah. And but he brought it right down.
Submit the meter readings and
that was the thing, because we always submit the meter readings, and so it was like, why are you guessing? We're giving you the information. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, let's not get bogged down in energy bills.
Just say I've not put my heating on yet.
Oh. Well, but you have shorts in the winter and shit like that, you know. The drive back from Liverpool, I was cold. I was in a coat and hat. Yeah.
And I'm in a t-shirt. Yeah, I just run hot.
Yeah.
You know. Anyway, yes. George, have you ever thought about making your own drums?
Never, ever. You?
No, but Eddie has.
Good.
Yeah?
That's really good, yeah.
We had a chat with Eddie from Primas Custom Drums. You met him at the UK drum show that we were at.
Mm-hmm. I think at the same time you were talking to the drum tech from the massive kit. Ramstein, yeah. That was when I was chatting.
So I didn't meet Eddie at the show, but you did.
Yeah.
And get him on the pod. Let's find all about what he's doing. So he's been doing Primus Drums for 8 years now.
Yeah.
Mainly making custom snare drums, but does make a few kits as well. It's not his full-time job, he's as we find out. So he's got a pretty cool job,
and his role in that job isn't throwing turkeys into the engine. So that's all I'll say about that.
That is crucial.
Yeah. but
it is someone's job.
Yeah, it is someone's job. If that's not a reason to stay around, I don't know what is. But I mean, this is the podcast on snare making. I don't know if there's been a podcast made before or since. That's not right. That is That's right, isn't it? Before or since? Why did that seem wrong? Anyway,
because you almost predicted the future.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I don't think there's been a podcast made before that has this much attention to detail in making a snare drum. So, if you've ever been interested,
it's got a unique way of creating his drums. That the big boys don't do.
Yeah.
So we quizzed them on all of that. Yeah. Very interesting stuff. So here's our chat with Eddie from Primas Drums.
Thanks for doing this once again.
No worries. Thanks for the invite.
That's all right. As I said, it's it's casual and just be as nerdy about making drums as you want. It's all good. Well, let's start with how we met. I mean, I met you at the UK Drum Show last month or whenever it was. How was that for you? Have you been there before, representing?
Yeah, so that's the second time there now.
Nice.
This year I've got to say, it was better. Felt busier, and people, feeling like they want to interact a bit more. I think sort of, COVID was still around and stuff, last year. So this year was definitely better. I really enjoyed it.
Nice. How do you go about doing something like that? I mean, do you have to do the things you prepare? I mean, obviously you've got all your drums, but
so obviously making the drums is the biggest mission, just to make sure I've got plenty to display and for people to try and everything. But obviously you've got a lot in the background, even from van hire to booking the hotel. And I tend to end up making a lot of stuff myself. I had like that tiki bar type thing going on, which I had to make all that myself. And all the signs, graphics, there's a lot of preparation that goes into that beforehand. I mean, luckily, because I did it last year, I had quite a few bits that I could reuse, but there's still a lot of work, building up to it. And you want to try and do something a little bit different, next time you do it. So, a lot of work goes into it, a lot of money.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, the thing I found interesting was you brought wood along.
Yeah.
You just showed me a selection of different types of wood and said, "Do you know any of these?" And I went, "No." But that was quite unique in itself. Also, I mean, I want to start with this because you mentioned to me when I met you that you were a carpenter before you got into making drums.
Yeah, so
I assume a drummer. So I mean, what was your path into making drums?
Yeah, so I originally my dad and my granddad, so they were both joiners. And so it's sort of sawdust in my blood, I've always been doing stuff with my dad and with my granddad growing up. But I actually started out in the building trade. So I used to do like groundworks, paving, building, landscaping, joinery works, all that sort of thing. And I went self-employed when I was 17, so quite early on. So I had my business for a number of years, and then I just decided to have a change. And then I went into engineering. So I totally retrained from scratch in engineering. And sort of with my background in, building and joinery, teamed with engineering, and then, 20 odd years of playing drums, it kind of was a natural progression for me. Always been interested in how things are made, and the processes behind it all. And, I thought, well, I started looking into different shell types and stuff, and thought, let's give it a go. And I made my first drum in 2015. But it's been I've done a lot of experimentation in that time, making my own tooling and my own machine to actually mill the drums. So I spent a lot of time doing a lot of product research and development, behind the scenes. And it's not until probably it was around 2020. I mean, luckily for me, just before COVID hit, I thought, right, this is my time now. I'm ready, and then COVID hit, which kind of didn't help. But that's sort of my journey. I got to that point after a lot of development behind the scenes. So I got to a point where I was like, right, yeah, I'm ready to share this with the world now.
Should we go straight in? I want to know, how do you make a snare drum?
Okay.
Talk to me as if I don't know how to make a snare drum, because I don't know how to make a snare drum.
Okay. So I specialize in two different types of shells. So stave shells, which are often known as block shells, So I specialize in stave and segmented. So the difference between the two, I mean, you can see in the background, I've got a few different, some made up and a few shells here. So the main difference is with stave, which is this sort of vertical grain, start out with a flat board, and then I cut angles, and it basically starts off as, being flat. Each piece is flat, and then I mill it round, basically. I'll show you. I've got a half complete shell that I can show you. So this one, as you can see, that's how it starts out. So each individual piece is glued together and then machined round. And it's the same difference for segmented, except it's a horizontal grain. So you have small layers, built up, and then again machined round. So they're the two shell types that I specialise in. Going for that board.
Is that process found with any other drum manufacturers, any of the big boys?
Not the big boys, generally. I mean, you've seen over the years companies have, produced the odd stave shell as a one-off, or like a one-off run or something. Generally, you don't find those sort of shells with the big companies, mainly because they're not easy to mass produce. With ply, you can just get sheets and sheets of ply and put them into a mold, very quick and easy to make, whereas these are a lot more involved, and require a lot more skill to produce. And if you don't do them properly, it can lead to problems, I guess, with any shell. But you have to really know what you're doing with these shells. You find a lot of other smaller companies like myself. Generally will do this sort of construction. So there are a few companies out there like me that do them, but not generally with the bigger boys.
What sort of benefits to that process do you find as a manufacturer and also as a drummer yourself?
Yeah, so my when I started out looking into drum shell construction, I looked at all the different methods available, and my personal preference for a snare is I want something that's really projecting, has a lot of attack, but fairly short sustain. So I don't like loads of nasty overtones that go on forever. I want it to be very clean cut, but very, focused. And I wanted to experiment with different woods. Now, with ply, I'm not saying that every ply snare drum sounds the same, so that's a bit unfair. But there's a lot of glue involved. So the differences between two different wood types are not that apparent, not that dramatically different with a ply shell. Whereas with stave and segmented, because the majority of it is wood, there's very minimal glue used in these two types of shell construction. You get in the natural fundamental tones of the wood. So it's, the differences between a walnut shell and a maple shell, or, mahogany or whatever, and a padauk, they're quite dramatically different, so you get a more variety of sounds. And in my personal preference, and personally, I think they just sound better all around, really, because you've got a different scope of sounds available, but also, they're very focused, and you get that fundamental tone, of the material that you're using.
Yeah. Did you learn about the woods? I mean, was it research first and then going, I've heard oak is good for this, and then trying it out? Or did you just, try it out and then see what sounded good, basically?
Yeah, a bit of both. I looked around, did some research, and see what what people are saying about the different woods, which was a good start. But I do, until I've made one myself, I never go totally off what everyone else says. I want to discover it myself. The first snare drum I actually made was out of an old door. So my dad, he used to fit doors for a living, and he'd take out like old hardwood doors, and like everyone wants composite doors, so he did a lot of composite doors. And he took out this old mahogany door, and he's like, I've got this mahogany, I didn't want to bin it because it's actually nice wood. And I was like, I'll try making a snare drum out of it, and it just sounded amazing. Absolutely amazing. Yeah, I've still got it. It's still being used. So.
I was going to ask if you still had the first one or whether you. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, what sort of things do you learn when making snare drums? Were there any things that you made when you started and went, that's awful, I'm never doing that again, or
Yeah, I've scrapped, I've scrapped shells, like, and I've made mistakes. It's part of the learning process, isn't it? Getting angles right is paramount. The angles have got to be perfect, or else you don't get that good joint. Between the pieces of wood, so that's really important. Also, other things I've learned is with certain woods, I use a lot of different woods, and they all behave differently. And like, for example, rosewood's quite a common one where it's very oily, very much like Padauk. Padauk is very oily, so you have to be very careful gluing it up. It has to be done in a certain way and be cleaned thoroughly to remove the oils off the surface, and stuff. I've had it before, like early on, where I didn't know this, and I used a teak, again reclaimed, that I had from a canopy that someone had, and I was like, oh, it's teak, I'll try that. What I didn't know was you have to wipe the oils off, and I didn't, so I had an issue there where it starts to come apart. But that's looked into it, why is it coming apart, and then discovered, oh, it's the oils, which sounds quite obvious when you say it. But and then obviously when I look at other woods, then I'm very careful, to make sure I know what I'm doing with it first. I've used a lot of different woods now, so I generally know what's what. But even now, still, with woods that I know are okay, I'll still wipe them down just to make sure sure that everything is spot on. So yeah, I've learned by mistakes. One of the biggest things for me is developing a machine to mill the shells as accurately as possible. You find a lot of small builders who use something called a cocoa jig, and a lot of them like DIY, not particularly that accurate. They take forever because you manually have to turn it and stuff. And I started out like that, and I'm thinking, as an engineer, how can I do this better? And I'm on Mark 4, I think, of my machines, and what I've got now is absolutely spot on, perfect, absolutely amazing quality I get out of it. And it's very good with time. I can turn them around pretty quick, a lot quicker than I imagine a lot of other people can, a lot more accurate than anyone else.
How long would you say, start to finish, it takes you to make a drum?
Depending on the model, I'd say it's something like one of these, a high gloss, like segmented. You'd be looking at around 12 hours to make.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's not, but obviously there's a lot of curing involved. So it'd be 12 hours, but it'd be over like a 2-week period to make that, to allow for cure times. But yeah, I can get it down to about 12 hours. And then something that's sat in, like this shell there, I can do in about 10 hours.
Nice. When you say curing, is that as in letting the snare sit so it gets used to the shape? Is it that something? Or?
No, so obviously you start off by gluing it. So you've got to let the glue dry for 24 hours.
Right, yeah.
And then, to be fair, I do tend to let it sit. I mean, not so much with segmented, because they're quite rigid anyway. But the stave ones, I do like to let them sit. But there's not really much movement to have out of a stave or segmented, because you're not putting them under any strain. The wood is sat in its natural position, so it's never really been that much of a concern for the wood itself. But then if I'm doing a finish like this, a high gloss polyurethane finish, I have to leave it 5 days to fully cure before I can polish it, stuff like that. And then you've got different processes throughout. I put a high solid base coat on, which I have to leave to dry for 24 hours, and then I have to sand it, and then I put another coat on and leave that, and so it's quite a bit of standing time with it, just letting things cure, really.
How many clients, customers are looking for a custom snare? I mean, is that sort of generally how it goes?
Yeah, generally a lot of my customers are custom shop customers. I do stock models. So each one is still, unless I've actually got one, generally it's still made to order. But what I find is with a lot of customers, they'll come and because they know it's custom, they'll try this and try that and go, oh, I love that, but I love that finish. I love the sound of that, but I want that finish. And I end up doing custom shops, which is what I want to do. I love making every drum that I make is totally unique. That's preferably where I want to be at. The stock models is more of a base to start, or for those drummers that really want something special, but you can't really decide and look at it and go, yeah, I'm happy with that, But yeah, ultimately, a lot of my customers are looking for custom shops. They want something special,
Yeah. Have you had any, what's the sort of, if you had any, because I saw on the website there's like a Bumblebee inspired one and Lightning McQueen. And have you had any obscure requests for finishes or designs?
Not really. No, not up to now. I've had some like strange requests for colours, like neon bright green or something, but nothing too exciting. But I'm sure that'll come.
So where's the company at in terms of are you manufacturing all this at home, or do you have a workshop? And are you are all orders sort of personally done, or are you stocked anywhere, things like that?
Yeah, so I'm lucky enough to have quite a decent amount of land with my house. So I've got this studio that I'm in now, which is pretty decent size. I used to play in here with my band, like 5-piece band. So I'm quite lucky. I've got the space. So I built a purpose-built studio, and then I've also built a new workshop as well, which is bigger than my studio, purposely for drums. So luckily, I can do it from home, which is great. I do it all myself. So everything you see, the website, the actual building of the drums, like everything is all me. Social media, everything. I do everything myself. Yeah, and to be honest, I intend to sort of keep it that way. I do have a little bit of help, like at the drum show. My best friend Ben, dead supportive, and he's my sort of advisor in the background. I always phone him up, say, Ben, what do you think to this, or what do you think to that? And he's great. He has quite a bit of involvement, but generally the day-to-day stuff is all me. And like I say, I kind of want to keep it sort of that sort of level, just because I don't want to be the next DW or Yamaha or anything. I want my drums to be more special. I don't want them just to be, everyone's got one. The people who play my drums, I really want them to want to play it, and it means something, not just another run-of-the-mill company that's knocking out ply snare drums, I do have stock here, so I'm in Rattle and Drum in Derby. They keep some stock. Great guys down at Rattle and Drum, so just another outlet for me. So I take some customs down there, or some stock models, because sometimes I just make them just because I want to try something, or I've got an idea and I'll make something up, and then so they stock a few, and then I've had some in Drummers on as well. They've stocked some, but yeah, I'm not planning on having like a mass distribution. I want to keep it sort of more unique and special.
You fit this around another full-time job, is that right? You're still active as an engineer. George mentioned it was Rolls Royce Aerospace.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I mean, we want to know about that. That sounds awesome.
Yeah. So I work for Rolls Royce, and I work in the aerospace, large civil aerospace repair and overhaul. So I do repair and overhaul to large civil aero engines. So yeah, the type of engines they're going like A380, A350, XWB, stuff like that. So yeah, all the big stuff in the civil market is what I work on, and I work on the combustion side, the O4 module, which is the combustion system. So it's the best bit of the engine, most interesting. But yeah, that's what I do in my day job is working on aircraft engines. So, yeah.
Wow. How long have you been doing that?
So like I said, I retrained in 2012. So I've been doing it quite a while now. So I did the full apprenticeship with Rolls Royce. Great apprenticeship. Taught me a lot, because with the type of business that I'm in, you not only have to know about fitting techniques, actually assembly of the engines. I also had to learn about component repair, so machining and dressing and things like that. So that sort of gave me a lot of knowledge that I've sort of took away and used for like building my machines and things like that. So it's been great. It was a great move for me.
So did you say you were on like the repair side of things?
Yeah.
So is this basically just in layman's terms, you fix plane engines? Is that
basically? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I do. You have a bit like you have a car, and you'll have an MOT in service, and there's certain things that needs changing after so long. Like your brake pads or whatever. It's similar sort of things. We'll have engines in that they'll have life limited parts where they can only run for so many cycles, and then we've got to strip the engine down, replace them parts, or it can just be a full overhaul of the whole engine. After so many cycles, it needs a full strip down and rebuild. So yeah.
Just before I next fly on a plane, how often are these plane MOTs done?
It depends. To be honest, I don't get that involved in that side of it. The job comes to me and I do the job, so I can't really answer that, to be honest. Okay. I mean, it varies between different engines as well, because I work on a lot of different types of engines. So yeah, I can't really answer that.
That's okay. I trust you.
Yeah. You got to. It's like taking your car for an MOT, and they're like, "You got to have this replaced." Like, yeah, okay.
I sometimes find that, like, if you do like a short haul European flight, the plane you're getting out has just come in from that destination, and I was saying, like, do you just want to check it a bit, like just before it heads back out? Maybe just give it a once over. But
well, I can assure you, they're pretty robust.
Yeah.
I've seen some different things over my time. I've seen one that's had a full flock of Canadian geese go through it.
Wow.
That was interesting. There was some goose-shaped gouges out of the fan blades. But it was absolutely fine. Like they carried on flying,
Is that something they test? They just...
Yeah, they do actually. They throw. I don't know if it's a frozen turkey. I think they test them where they throw it into the engine and see what damage it does. Water indigestion, ice, buildup of ice to see what that does. So yeah, they get rigorously tested. They do, but also before they actually get even from new or after we've rebuilt them, they get a lot of testing again. Before they go back on the wing, they get pushed beyond sort of like the normal limits to make sure that everything is right.
I wonder if that someone's...
It's a very regular thing.
I was wondering if that's someone's job to go and get the things to test. So they just
throw some chickens.
Head to Iceland.
This in today.
Yeah. Oh, what a great day at work that would be! Just lobbing frozen turkeys at an aeroplane engine.
Yeah, I'm not sure you'd be able to walk up and throw one in, but I don't really have an involvement with the testing side of stuff. Like I say, it's more assembly that I'm involved with.
You're not the one throwing the turkeys in, then?
I'm not the one throwing the turkey, no. Or you got the hose pipe out. No, it's somebody else's job.
Do you apply any of the same techniques to your drums? Do you throw frozen turkeys at the snares?
No, I don't really feel the need to test it for frozen turkey ingestion. No, not really.
Maybe we should. Maybe that's the new.
Yeah.
You definitely stand out at the UK drum show next year.
Yeah. See me throw a turkey at this snare drum and see what happens.
If you can throw the turkey through the snare drum, you win a prize.
Yeah.
There
you go. You win a snare.
when you're building your drums, is there a point in the process before it's finished where you can test it? You can like validate its, the bearing edges. What sort of process do you have? Quality control really before you put the final touches on?
Yeah. So the key bit is during the machining process. So obviously, if it's oval, then it's game over. For me, it's the engineer in me. I've got a very, very fine tolerances that I work to make sure that it's fully concentric and everything's as it should be. So I fill out a quality machining record throughout the process of machining and then into the final build. So I check all the finishers and the bearing edges and everything. I mean, because I'm doing it, I know it's right. And if it wasn't, then it won't be going anywhere. It's important to me. I think it's just the way I am. It's got to be right. But I do fill in that. One of the reasons I do this quality sheet is one, is sort of proof that it's as accurate as it's going to possibly be, but also to keep a record for any reason that if I had trouble with anything, if I had a customer come back, I'll be able to trace to work out what has changed. So yeah, that's why I do it. But yeah, every drum, if it's not right, it won't be going anywhere. Yeah, I'm quite keen on that.
What skins are you using when you're selling the drums?
Yeah, so I've tried a number of different heads, but I always come back to Evans. I use Evans drum heads. In particular, my personal favorite is the Power Center Reverse Dot. It's just a great head, and I find it's got a great attack, and it's controlled to a point where you're not taking out loads of the natural fundamental tone, but it's not a wild skin where you've got all these horrible overtones and stuff. And I find that out of all the drummer heads that I use, it's the one that sort of lets the natural resonance of the shell shine through. And you get that you hear the natural tone of the shell. And I had to have a head, especially because I do a lot of snare drums. I wanted a head that sort of ticked all them boxes and a good quality, but I needed to find a head that I could use and have consistency. When I'm making these drums when they first go. I mean, if you come to me, and wanted a custom shop building, you could have whatever head you wanted. But for like my stock models and generally any that I'm building, that's not. There's no preference from a customer. I'll always put Power Center Reverse Dot on, so I know what to expect from that. The great heads. So yeah, and then I normally use 300 Hazy on the Rezo side. Just great sounding heads. And it's no good if I'm making drums. A lot of different custom shops that I just feel like making. I keep swapping and changing heads, so the head does have an effect on the sound, and then I won't know where I'm at in terms of sound. So I've got that consistency, and I know what to expect from all the different tone woods that I use.
Where'd you get the lugs and hoops from? Are you buying them in, or are you manufacturing them yourself?
No, as much as I'd love to manufacture them myself. That's a whole new ball game. My shop is predominantly a wood shop, and to go into metal work, it's a whole new setup, a whole new ball game. You need some serious machinery to manufacture them at a decent rate as well. So I buy them in. Eventually, my aim would be to have my own run of hardware, but at the moment, because I'm not making masses and masses of them. I just buy it in, but it's all good quality that I buy. I don't buy any rubbish. I generally get the lugs from Germany, and then the hoops I source from various places. A few distributors that I've got where I can get hold of different hoops. And then
so I was going to say, do you tend to use the same lugs and hoops on each drum again for consistency?
Yeah. So on my stock models, they've all got the same lugs, and then for custom shop, whatever I can get my hands on that you tell me what lug you want. I've got an idea of this or an idea of that. I can even get custom ones made. But I've got a lot of different suppliers with a lot of different lugs that I can get my hands on. So generally with the stock models, it's a set lug. But for custom shop, it's whatever you like, really. These lugs I tend to, even on the custom shops, people really like these, so I tend to use these again on a lot of custom shop models as well. Really good, solid lug,
Yeah. We've talked a lot about snares, but you do full kits as well, right?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Is it the same process for making the kick drums as it is for the snares? Is it still that same?
Yeah,
process?
Exactly the same process. Yeah. So the kit that you saw at the UK Drum Show is the Barbary Series drum kit in Paducah. I do drum kits. Obviously, because of the price of them, I don't sell lots and lots of kits. But yeah, I can pretty much make whatever anyone wants, really, in terms of size and stuff. All the processes are the same. To be honest, drum kits are a little bit easier in a way. Individual shells, just because you haven't got a snare bed to cut, you haven't got a strainer and butt end, and stuff. So they're actually a bit easier to make. You just obviously there's more of them. But yeah, I do make full kits.
How did you go about pricing your drums in terms of, obviously how long it takes you to make them and things and materials, but did you have any consideration to sort of where you wanted to place yourself in the market as a brand and at a price point?
Yeah, it's a hard one, this is, and to be quite honest, it's something I've struggled with, because you think a new company coming up, you want to get your products out there, so your sort of initial reaction is, I'll try and do it as cheap as I can, but then you end up sort of competing with a lower end market, but they're expensive in a lower end market, if you know what I mean. And then obviously you don't want to go to the extreme where I'm gonna charge big money for these because they're so special and then not sell any. And to be honest, I'm not in the game of ripping anyone off anyway. It's not that. So my prices are fair for what they are. So as you said, obviously materials and then my hourly rate is basically what I'm charging. Over the last couple of years since COVID, the prices of materials are just crazy. Everyone knows it's so expensive for anything now. And so the bit I've struggled with most is the hardware. The prices, every time I buy hardware, it's gone up, every single time. That's the thing I've been struggling with a little bit in terms of pricing, because I don't want to keep putting my prices up too much. But at the same time, the cost of raw material. The wood as well. The wood is getting really expensive, especially because I use a lot of exotic hardwoods. A lot of the woods I use come from like Africa or South America or the US. So there's the import charges and everything. Everything's just going up.
Shit, innit?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's tough on that. I can understand, like before sort of COVID, I was actually doing quite well. I was getting a lot more sales. And then since COVID, and I feel the pinch, with like your mortgages, cost of fuel and everything is just so expensive,
Frozen turkeys.
And then frozen
turkeys, yeah.
Yeah, they're so dear now. But yeah, everything's just going up, isn't it? It's a tough one, I don't want to devalue my product, but I don't want to demand silly money for it. So I demand a fair price for what you get in terms of, the quality, and bearing in mind that each one is handmade, individually. They're not pumped out on a production line, each one is special.
How many drums do you think you've made in the 8 years you've been?
Yeah,
to be honest,
I made quite a few, that were just testing things out, testing processors and stuff. None of those have really got serial numbers. I've made my last serial number, I think is about I think I'm touching 80 snare drums. and I've made 4 full kits. So yeah.
I see. Also, you modify kits. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So is that what is that? Is that people wanting perhaps a different size of the drum they've already got, or things like that, or?
Yeah, recently I've been doing a lot of that. So it'll be, cutting shells down to a size, or recutting bearing edges, or a lot of kits nowadays come with an undrilled bass drum. So you have to mount your toms separately, and you got your old school drummers, or drummers who need it to be mounted for one reason or another. Fitting bass drum mounts. I've done loads of those recently. For mounts for toms, and then obviously a tom mount as well. I've had people who sort of putting their own kit together but can't do certain parts of it, or want it a finish applying, or I do all sorts of stuff like that. I quite enjoy that sort of work as well. I had somebody who had a Yamaha, was it Oak Custom or something? It was a Yamaha kit anyway, and it had a real different finish. And he bought another tom because he wanted another tom, but he couldn't get it in the same finish. It just ended up buying this black tom, and he says, "Can you match this finish for me?" So I took that away and match the finish. You never even know. So yeah, I like doing jobs like that as well. It's quite cool.
What's your favourite drum you've made? What's your ideal? You must have a
benchmark.
Yeah, a benchmark snare for you personally. What's that size and consist of?
Right. So for me, I like to tune my snare pretty high. So I go for pretty dense, bright sounding wood, and Padauk is my favorite wood. A 14 by 6.5 Padauk snare with a high gloss finish and die-cast soups is I just love that sound. It's so good. There's a lot of I have a lot of interest in those snares as well, and I've sold a few of those. These just sound so great. From aesthetically, I've made so many nice drums. I made it was a segmented Wenge, Zebrano, and Bobinga shell with matching hoops, segmented hoops, with gold hardware, with a 24 karat gold trick throw on it. It was absolutely stunning. It sounded amazing as well. A sort of wet sound, real wet sound to it. Loads you can do with it in terms of sound. It's actually the one that's on Drummer's Review. I sent it to them. Absolutely stunning piece of kit. So yeah, that's also one of my favorites. But if I'm a rock drummer, I'd just be so worried with that snare. You've got to have a certain style to play that sort of snare. I'd absolutely destroy it, I think. I would destroy it, but I'd be, especially if I've made it, I'd be conscious. I don't know, should I be hitting this? Do you know what I mean? It's so beautiful, But for sound wise, definitely a Padauk stave, just amazing, very bright, loads of attack, and loads of projection. It's just amazing. And then you can really tune it down low, add a bit of dampening, and get a fat sound from it as well. So yeah, that would be my favorite Padauk.
Have you got ideas in the pipeline of other snares you'd want to try, perhaps with different woods? Yeah,
too many. Yeah, I've got so many. It's finding time, and obviously every time I make one, it costs money as well. So just finding the time and money to do everything that I want to do. And I often find I'll have an idea and I think yes, and then I see somebody else do it, and I'm like, annoying. But there's one thing I know it's been done, but I'm going to do it in a slightly different way. Is a hybrid with metal and wood. Well, obviously you see a lot of drums like that are done with ply, and I'm going to do it with proper wood, like segmented style with metal. So combined together. So that'd be quite interesting. That's one thing I've sort of got in the pipeline. It's down on paper. I've just got to actually start it at some point.
Well, let's talk about, you mentioned you've been a drummer for quite a while. Like, just briefly, what's your drumming life been like up until, making drums? Have you been professional or just for fun, or?
So yeah, mainly for fun. I've sort of got close, but never really got there. So I started playing drums when I was 11, and I got into my first band when I believe I was around 14 when I started playing with them, and that was great. Like, it was like that era of like McFly and Busted type stuff. We was very much like that. I've actually got this is the old drum skin here from my original kit that I had when I was 14. So I was traveling around. I played with all like the old school glam rock bands like Slade and Doctrine of Medics and guys like that, which was quite cool. And then that sort of come to a natural end, where people just grow up, and go in different directions and stuff. And that was sort of the end of that. And then I've played in various bands since then, doing mainly rock stuff. I've done like covers bands and mainly rock. And then I got into a band doing like, I suppose you'd label it as prog type stuff, called Emperor Chung, and we did pretty damn well with that. We ended up playing Download in 2013 on it was called then the Pepsi Max stage, which was pretty big stage. That was wicked. I think, who did we support? I think it was him that headlined the stage that day. That was awesome, absolutely incredible. So yeah, we got pretty close, but I think a lot of it was just timing. We didn't get our album out in time, so by the time we got our album out, the sort of limelight had left us, and then our guitarist, he joined Cradle of Filth, and went off to play with them, which is amazing. He's been all over the world with them, like dead chuff for him, which kind of it didn't stop our band, because at the time we was playing mainly just festivals anyway. But I think with everything that was just going on at the time, we sort of said, let's have a bit of a hiatus. But that was quite a few years ago now, and not really played since. I've done a couple of bits in between. I've stood in for a few bands and stuff like that. But, gradually as the years go on, I get more and more focused on making drums than actually playing them. I still enjoy playing. It's just, I mean, you're a drummer, you know how hard it is to, you've got to keep going at it, and I can't do both, having a family, a full-time job, a custom drum building company, and being, keeping at the top of my game with drums. I just can't do it all, but yeah, I still enjoy playing now and again.
Do you find that having a custom drum company has led you to, I don't know, perhaps meet drummers you wouldn't have met? I mean, that's what we've got with this podcast,
Yeah,
it's an excuse to meet people.
Yeah, it is, definitely. Yeah. I've met some great people, especially like the drum show and stuff. It gives you a little bit more opportunities to go and, talk to these drummers. And I've had some great people, get involved, and, it's, definitely. Managed to, one of my favorite bands, Blackstone Cherry. Ended up being in touch with John Fred Young, and then he's got one of my snares, awesome. Which is pretty cool. Yeah, he was like, my hero. For him to play one of my drums is pretty cool. So meet some good people.
What's your sort of you mentioned you want to keep it still just yourself and keep the business at a certain level, but what other than UK Drum Show, what other sort of avenues do you want to go down, or sort of try to help promote the brand?
Yeah, so I want to get some more reviews out there, with different people. Drummers Review was a great one. I get some more reviews from them, and also is I want to work with just more drummers in general, in terms of like people like session drummers who really care about their sound. Because session drummers tend to want a variety of different sounds. You can't just have one snare, because one snare doesn't do it all, and they're playing for a variety of artists, and they're the sort of people that really care about their sounds, and they're the sort of people that I want to get involved with, and hopefully they can help me promote the brand, and get it out there. That's sort of my main aim at the moment, is trying to get those sort of guys on board and get my drums in their hands, I mean, the drum show is great. I'll probably still continue with that. They're also planning on doing one in Germany as well. So we'll see. I might head over there. We'll see what happens with that.
Are most of your customers UK based, or are there any? Do you do ship abroad? Or?
Yeah, I do. I send a lot to the US. Yeah, a lot goes to the US. That's sort of. I would like to get a shop over there involved. If I can get a decent drum shop in the US, I think that I'd do quite well, because I've sent a lot out there. I think the guys in the US, love British companies and something different. So I'd like to get out in the US, but I've sent them everywhere, like Vietnam, Australia. I've sent snares out there. Netherlands, like mainland Europe. I've sent snares, Ireland, all over the place. Yeah.
How paranoid are you with packing them up for shipping abroad?
Hate it. I've only ever had, touch wood, I've only ever had one damaged. But yeah, I make sure that they're insured and everything, and just pack them as best I possibly can. I'd be absolutely wounded to have. I was wounded when I had that one damage. I mean, that was a shell only, and I packed it up really well, but it looked like it'd been like crushed with a forklift or something. Like it really been crushed. I don't think whatever it was in the box, whether it was a snare drum or not, I think it would have. If it's made out of wood, it would have ruined it. It took some impact, which is unfortunate. But touch wood, like I say, I've only ever had one that's got damaged. All the others have arrived safe and sound.
Well, I reckon that probably leads us well on to our last question. Ben, what you think?
Yeah, so kind of a 2-in-1 question. It can probably be, the normal question is, who's your favourite delivery company? But I guess we can phrase it as, who do you trust to send your drums out with?
I normally, like, there's mixed views on this one. I personally, my experience with UPS has been really good, but it's not cheap. But they've always got there pretty good. I like to, if I can, deal directly with a shipping company, because I find, I don't know if you guys really ship much, but you go through a third party and it's just a nightmare, especially if something happens, where they haven't got a phone number. It's really frustrating. So I tend to go direct, and if possible UPS. DPD is all right as well, but UPS if possible. What's your favourite shipping company then?
For me, it's DPD.
Yeah, DPD.
Yeah, I think it's DPD just in general. Close second and third, put UPS and FedEx. I think. Yeah.
Well, I usually ask afterwards, what's any delivery companies you don't favour? But I mean, it sounds like we've got the story there. I mean, a smashed up snare drum that you've sent.
Yeah.
Who was that with? Who was that sent with?
Yeah. Should we name and shame?
Well, I did it. This was quite a long time ago, and I did it through Parcel Monkey. Oh, what a nightmare.
I mean, just the name.
I know. Whatever. But I can't remember the company who actually delivered it, but it was through Parcel Monkey. And they tried everything not to pay out. Everything. Not to pay out on it. I mean, what really annoyed me? I mean, maybe this is standard procedure, but so I pay the company to send this drum there. Obviously, it's got to arrive there in one piece to begin with. Luckily, it was insured, which was fine. But then I couldn't call them. There's no phone number to call them, which is ridiculous. So I was trying to get through with emails and everything, which took ages. And then they was trying to dispute it, which is a pain. So, but anyway, then they eventually I got the money back. But then I was like, well, I want the money back for the shipping as well. Well, no, we did our job. Well, no, because it arrived in bits. Like, how can you say you've done your job? I've paid insurance to cover the cost of the item. But you still won't give me my money back for, a job that you didn't actually complete. I was fuming. I mean, maybe that's just, standard procedure, or I don't know, but I wasn't very impressed with that. But, yeah.
Well, I mean, there's the perfect example of don't go to a big company, go to a small snare company, because you'll pick up the phone,
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
Where can people find you?
So obviously on all the usual social media outlets, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Pinterest. I'm on all over those places.
Pinterest.
Yeah, I've got to get on that a little bit more. But there's quite a bit of content on there. But that's one that I sort of fail on a little bit. I need to get more on that. I think it's because I don't really understand it that much. So I don't use it very often. So, but I need to get a better understanding. Also, obviously, I've got my own website, primuscustomdrums.com. So yeah, all the usual places really.
Fantastic. Well, we'll definitely send people in your direction and put links and everything.
Yeah,
in the episode.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah. Thanks so much for your time. And chatting to us. Yeah, it's been fascinating. And
it is fascinating. Yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah. Well, thank you guys for asking me to get involved. You have to send me what you do, and I'll share it. And
don't worry, there'll be some audiograms coming your way.
Just make sure you drop me a message and with all the details up, and I'll get it all shared out and see if we can drum some more ears your way.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Perfect.
Same with you.
Cheers, mate.
Right, cheers. Thank you.
Bye. See you later.
Bye. Bye.
There we go.
That was our chat with Eddie from Primas Drums.
Yeah.
What did you learn that you enjoyed most?
Obviously, that it is someone's. I'm embellishing this slightly, of course, but that it is someone's job to go out, purchase frozen turkeys, and lob them in to aeroplane engines.
Yeah, all the stuff.
I mentioned before, Joe. I mentioned on the previous episode about how quite fascinating it is that what actually goes on in this world.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Like what actually the detail. When we speak to drum techs about what goes on to just get that show ready for someone to just turn up, and what goes on. You just pop on a plane and fly across the ocean or the land, and that someone's gone, we need to test these bad boys. Turkeys, let's go. It's great.
Yeah.
In all seriousness, note, I think
was that not the serious note?
No, just impressive that he does it all himself.
Yeah,
and he likes to keep it that way. He likes the personal nature of dealing with his, and he obviously is quite clear. He absolutely loves it, and that's just key with anything, isn't it? Really.
Yeah.
He takes obviously great pride in the work he does, and his background in, carpentry and engineering. What and being a drummer. I mean, it's 1 and 1 + 1 = 3. Well, that's great.
I think that was what was interesting, his attention to detail in his other jobs transcended into snare drum making, because you couldn't. I think if you made snare drums for your own company and went, that'll do, send it out,
There is no that'll do.
No.
In Eddie's
never
he's not
said
got
that'll
neon lights on the wall. That'll do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I've definitely mixed tracks and gone, that'll do.
Oh, most gigs I've ever done.
Yeah.
That'll do.
Just general every day. That'll do. That'll do. No, it's great.
Yeah.
So go check out the drums. They're fucking impressive.
Yeah.
And I'll say it now. Eddie, sort us out a custom drummer snare drum, please.
Are we paying him? Or
no, that's the deal. That's the deal. I want you to spend 12 hours over 2 weeks curing the wood, designing, building, all that. Slap our ugly mugs on it.
The finish. Yeah.
Yeah. And then shipping it with UPS.
One day.
Yeah, one day, mate.
Yeah.
That would be nice, wouldn't it?
Not parcel monkey.
No.
Yeah, one day.
Cool.
Yeah,
hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed listening. Hope you enjoy what we're doing. And we hope you have a very good week. And that's it. I've got nothing else, mate.
Yeah. Wasn't your best ending.
No.
It started strong.
Yeah.
What
do you want to do one?
You usually go like...
Yeah,
What's the rhythm of it?
Okay, look, I can try again.
Yeah, go on,
Hope you enjoyed listening to our chat with Eddie. Have you ever thought about making your own snare drum? What design would you have? Have you ever thrown a turkey at an aeroplane? Have you ever seen an engine fail on an aeroplane? I once spoke to a pilot. I did a tour with In Me and the drummer they had on that tour. Mm-hmm. He said, what do you do? And he went, I'm a pilot for Virgin Atlantic. Brilliant. Forget drums. I want to find out all about it. And we were like, have you ever had an engine go? He's like, yeah, it's fine. Planes can be fine if they lose two of the engines. It's all good.
Yeah.
He seemed very relaxed. Have you ever done...
Oh, back to the questions.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'll do it. It's gone.
You got to end that one. Have you ever...
worked for Rolls Royce?
There you go. Have you ever worked for Rolls Royce?
Yeah.
I doubt any of our mates have.
No. Anyway, let's bounce, mate.
Yeah.
We'll be back next week.
Yeah, check out Primas Drums.
Yeah, check them out. And check out their socials. Check out our socials. Check out our... That's it. We haven't got a website, really, have we?
No.
Spread the word, though. You know, give us a good old share. Give us a retweet. Give us a review. Yeah? 5 out of 5. Because it really is 5 out of 5.
And give Eddie a review. Bye.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you for listening to Drum and Drummer. You can find us on Instagram at Drum and Drummer Podcast. And you can send us an email to drumanddrummerpod@gmail.com. Remember, just pick up the sticks and twat it.